Hi, everybody. I'm Branden Sewell. I am the owner of Seal Pro Painting, and I am also the host of the Off the Ladder podcast. And we exist to help home service business owners learn so that they can lead well and ultimately live life off of the ladder. Today's episode is unfortunately going to be solo. And the reason why is last night, my wife and I had actually recorded an entire podcast episode. It was going to be about marriage and business, and just how to have a really strong marriage, even in the midst of like really challenging times in business. And unfortunately, that entire episode was recorded. It was about an hour and 18 minutes, and went to go edit the episode and realized there was no audio. So I guess somehow the wrong mic had got selected, and so our mic wasn't actually picking up the audio. Unfortunately, that was like an hour and 18 minutes for nothing. So um, it was nice though, because my wife and I got to, bond over that experience, and, um, you know, doing that whole recording, we talked a lot about, like how we met, and, how we have such a strong relationship, a marriage, and how that has played into having a business. So anyway, we definitely want to redo that episode with her in it. But I need an episode for today. So unfortunately, usually my episodes would go live at 4 a.m. on Wednesdays, but this one obviously is going to be put out later in the day today, just because of that technical difficulty. So anyway, for those of you that listen regularly, sorry that I did not have that episode available this morning. But in the spirit of that episode, and like what we're gonna do, um, really the heart of that episode is to go over how important our faith has been, um, for both our marriage and just for the business in general, and how business is extremely challenging, and you're going to have like a lot of highs and lows, and the highs are great. The lows, they can be really dark and really challenging. And if your relationships, if your marriage does not have a really strong foundation, then when things go wrong, when things go bad, when it gets ugly, um, that can test and challenge the strength of your marriage and your relationship. And so, really, we just dive into how God has really sustained us through some really challenging times. So I'm actually really excited to do that episode again, and to get, my wife on there so you can hear her perspective. Because we've had some definitely challenging times as a business owner. And it really plays in well too with the last episode that I did. Just so not letting your emotions drive your decisions in business. So um, anyway, for this episode, what I really want to talk about is this concept that what got you to where you are now is not going to get you to the next level that you want to go in business. And something that I've realized and found out for myself is when I've gone through seasons in my business, and I've had hiccups or challenges, along the way, I learned something in those challenges and in those seasons that helped me to get to the next level. And sometimes that looks like, going along and growing, and then hitting that obstacle, and then having to go backwards a little bit because I have to learn that lesson, and then grow again, and then inevitably that same challenge is going to come up, but now I understand how to go past that challenge. And that actually just recently has happened to me. Like in 2022, we were in this position where we were growing and things were really great. But there were things that I wasn't doing. There were mistakes that I made financially that caused me to actually get set back and really almost fail. And you know, maybe it's just me, and maybe this isn't what every other business owner goes through, but I've found that one of the biggest challenges to going to the next level in your business, um, it's really kind of twofold. And one, I'm going to say it's cash flow. Like, you have to learn how to manage cash flow in a different way to go to another level. You have to, you know, be able to understand finances and business at another level and be able to you know, just do things differently. You can't do things the same way that you do when you're smaller. And then you have to like have a cadence to looking at your numbers like religiously. And um so in 2022, one of the things that almost caused me to fail is like we were selling, growing. But I ended up, having a dip in business, cash flow slowed down, and that's where I got taken out. But now I understand through using, and I've talked about this some other episodes recently, but like before, I avoided using any type of debt. I didn't have any business credit cards. I didn't have credit lines. I didn't have any way to help me get through like those unexpected dips. And so now I understand, like, of course you have to be responsible. Like, you can't just go out and take on debt and utilize, credit lines and credit cards in an irresponsible way, but you can use them as a tool. So it's like, if I'm looking at the numbers and I'm anticipating that, like, hey, this is historically going to be a slower month, well, I know, okay, I can utilize the credit card or the credit line or whatever to help me get through a slow season, and then you know be okay and get to that mountaintop again, where everything's booming. And so but the other side to that is, like I said, it's like looking at the numbers, anticipating those things, not just like waiting for them to happen and then responding, but like we're having meetings right now because we know historically June is a slower month for us. It's like, okay, families are like just going into the summer, they're taking vacations, they're not getting as much work done. The focus is not to work on the home, right? Their focus is spending money other places. And we even see that a little bit going into like August, because we know that families are transitioning, they're spending money on back to school expenses, and they're coming back from vacations, and the focus is probably not getting work done on their home. So we see a little bit of a slowdown there into like the beginning of the fall, and then it picks back up again. Um, so anyway, we're looking at those. Something that we started that we used to not do is have team meetings every Monday. So this is a meeting to really go in deep and dive deep into, like, hey, this is what the numbers look like this week. This is what we're expected to produce. This is what's going well. This is what's not going well. This is where we need to get better. This is what we can expect. And because this is what we can expect, this is how we need to pivot and do this. And so it's being strategic in how you move forward. And so I made that mistake in 2022 of not doing those things. So even though we were growing, it just wasn't a healthy way to grow. So um, this is going to sound like probably absurd to some people too, but a really big mistake I made financially back in 2022 is I took on, I wanted to use debt to grow the business. And so, um, because I had like a fear mindset, I got a loan. And then because I like wanted to hold on to that money. Like I saw it there and I'm like, okay, I don't want to like spend all this. I'm going to keep it. So this is when I say this is so dumb. Do not make this mistake. If you take out some type of loan for your business loan, whatever, do not hold the money and then go get another form of financing. So what I mean by that is like in my mindset, I was like, okay, I'm going to have this big chunk of money. I'm going to go buy a van to grow. I'm going to finance the van. So all I have to worry about is these monthly payments. Well, when things slow down, well, now you're paying on both loans. Even though you had that money sitting there, if things slow down, something is going to give and use that money. Um, Whether it's payroll, material, marketing, that money is going to get used. So, what I learned from that experience is if I'm going to like get a loan for the business to grow. If I get a loan, I'm going to buy, for example, I'm going to either eliminate another debt, or I'm going to um, use that money to buy a like let's say a van in full, pay for it in full. So now the only payment that I have is to that one particular loan. And again, I know that probably sounds ridiculous to some of you guys, but I just want to share it because I made that mistake. And if I made that mistake, I'm sure other people have too. And it's just, I think it, like I said, I think it comes from this fear mindset. You're like, okay, I have this money sitting in the bank account. It's very tangible and I can see it. And so your mind goes to, well, I don't want to go pay for like, let's say this 10, 15, $20,000 um, depreciating asset and not be able to tangibly have that money to like pay for material, pay for, unexpected expenses and stuff like that. But what ends up happening is, like I said, now you're financing two things: the loan, the business loan that you got, plus whatever equipment you got. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I just want to encourage you, like, don't do that. And um, or don't take out a business loan, just go finance something and just have that one payment. But anyway, that's the mistake that I made in the past that I have not done now. Um and so you have to be open to changing your mindset on how you look at some things. And um you have to be willing to be strategic in ways that maybe you weren't before. um I learned this from a business coach last year, and we're doing it now. But like I said, I tried to avoid debt um like the plague before in my business. Like I didn't want credit cards. I didn't want to use vendor accounts or like vendor credit lines. But I was actually disservicing myself, because now what we do is like, I have a credit line for material, so I can buy material on that credit line. And then what I can do is I can take, and if I need to, I can, not I can borrow myself time and cash, and keep it in the business for, let's say, 30 days. And then when that 30 days is up and I need to pay that account, I can pay that account with my credit card. And then when I pay that with my credit card, well, now I have some time that I don't have to pay for that material up front. And so before I had this mindset of like, I'll just pay for all of the material up front because I'm going to buy it anyway. Well, now I utilize the credit card. I get cash back on my card, And so then I also am, not only am I getting like my vendor price for material, but now I'm also getting my cash back for that purchase, and I'm extending the amount of time that I have to pay for that material. And so, like I said, you have to be smart with it. Like, you can't just um you have to pay it. Like, you have to be watching your cash flow. You have to be watching what's, coming in and out, and you have to be forecasting, and know, okay, I'm expecting these expenses, and you have to still be responsible and do all those things. And I'm not saying that it's easy. It's still challenging, but it's easier in the sense that it takes like this stress and anxiety off of, and that pressure off, like every week, every 2 weeks of having to cover all of your material, all of your payroll, all of your overhead expenses. And it gives you some ability to kind of like breathe and manage that, and kind of stretch that out, if that makes sense. And in order to grow, like, you have to be able to do that, at least in my experience. Now, there could be somebody, I'm at one stage in my business. Maybe there's somebody who is a bigger business than me that would say, oh no, like, once you get to this point, you don't want to do it that way. And I would be all ears to hear that. But I will say, for where I am right now in my business, and what has enabled me to grow past where I was in 2022, and be on that pace to do over 1 million in revenue, has been adopting some of these practices in my business. And so, you have to, again, just to reiterate, you have what you did before to get you to, get off the ladder and do 250,000, 300,000, 400,000 in revenue, is not going to be the same thing that gets you to 500,000 and above. And what you did to go from 500,000 to, let's say, 700,000, 800,000 in business, is not going to be the same thing that's going to take you from that to doing over 1 million in revenue. You have to constantly be working on your business, implementing the things that you need to in order to grow and go to the next level. And if you're expecting to be able to do what you're doing now at 300,000, you're not going to get above 500,000. And once you reach 500,000, you cannot do the same things at 500,000 to get you over 1 million. And so, that's why it's so important for us to be constantly learning, investing in ourselves, and being open to hearing from people who have already achieved what we have set for our goals, and be willing to say, okay, I'm going to implement some of these things that they're doing so that my business can get there. And the goal is to try to avoid mistakes along the way so that you can get there. um, but all that to say is, like, look at your business where you are right now, and ask yourself, like, what do I need to do, um, to work on my business to get me to the next level. If you're a business that's under 500,000, it's maybe just like you and a small team. Um, and you're producing 500,000 in revenue, like, you could easily do 500,000 in revenue, working with like yourself, and maybe like, you know 3 to 4 guys. You might even be able to accomplish that with less if you're really hustling. But all that to say is, in order to go to the next level, you can't do the same things. Maybe you're working, on the truck with those guys, and maybe you don't really have much of a process for like onboarding and training, and maybe you don't have standard operating procedures for your business. Maybe you don't have KPIs, which are key performance indicators for different positions. Like, in order to go to the next level, you have to be able to delegate. You have to be able to put team members in place, delegate authority, and responsibility and let go of things and have them do things. And if you don't work on your business and put some of those things in place, then you're not going to be able to grow to the next level. If you think that you can run a $1 million+ business off of Google spreadsheets and paper, and not lose your mind, then you're not going to grow, at least not efficiently. Imagine a business that's doing over 1 million in revenue, that has no CRM, and has is doing everything from paper and spreadsheets. Imagine them taking and implementing a CRM, getting organized, getting things efficient. It's going to create the time and the space and the energy to scale even bigger. So it's like you're holding yourself back. So when you're smaller, get those systems in place so that you can grow past those barriers. And like, again, from the financial standpoint, like, you have to grow past a certain point, you got to start thinking like the CEO of your business, instead of just an owner operator. You have to change how you view things, how you view your leadership, how you view the financials of your business. You have to change all of those things, and that's what I'm having to do. Like, my goal is to be over $1 million business, and I'm hopefully going to accomplish that this year. But in order to do that, I have to change things. Like, just in the last month, I'm not proud to say this, but just in the last month is the first time that we've done weekly team meetings. We used to do them with just the admin and sales team in 2022, but now we've brought production into it. So now it's all sides of the business. We're doing a weekly team meeting, and that's just necessary to go to the next level, and we weren't doing that before. Um, so anyway, those are all things that you have to do if you want to grow. Um, and like I said, you can't ever feel like, oh, I've arrived, oh, I know everything. You also can't be afraid to admit that you're not where you want to be. Like, I have to admit that. I have to admit and say, like, hey, have I been able to accomplish some things that I'm proud of? Have I been able to grow a business and do what some people won't ever do? Absolutely, I have. And, like, I'm not going to get prideful in that and think like I know everything, because I don't. Like, I have not built a business over $1 million. I've tried and I've failed, and I've almost been there. This is going to be our second year where we should be on pace to do it. And it's like I haven't accomplished that. But am I further along than some people are in their business? Yeah, sure. But I'm not where I want to be, and I haven't accomplished what I want to. So um, it's just being humble. If you're listening to this, you're listening to this podcast, be humble. You might have grown a great $150,000 business, and you've done all the work, and you do great work, and you're a great craftsman. You're great at what you do, but I promise you, you are not the answer to going to the next level. Your craftsmanship, your what you've been able to do is not going to get you to the next level of where you want to go. And if you think it is, if you think that everything revolves around you and what you've been able to do, you're not going to get off the ladder. You're not going to grow a business that's bigger than you. You'll stay right where you're at, and you're going to blame everybody else for all the reasons why you can't grow a business. You're going to blame, the fact that you can't find great help. You're going to blame the fact that nobody can do it as good as you, that if you're not there, it's not going to get done, and it's not going to get done right. You're going to come up with all those excuses of why you can't implement, these things to get to the next level. I, for a long time, used the excuse of my fear and not wanting to use debt, to and that was a disadvantage to me. Now I'm learning, like, okay, like, if I want to go to the next level, I need to get my financials really strong. I need to have a healthy, credit line. I need to have credit cards that I can use as tools, and I need to do some of these things to help me go to the next level. So, um, anyway, I could keep going on and on. I guess really the main message here is be humble, work on yourself, be willing to change, be willing to be wrong, be willing to try different things so that you can go to the next level in your business. I'm going to wrap this up for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode and got something out of it. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, please comment below, like this video, share it with somebody else, subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please rate and review the show. And if you need any resources to run your business, whether it's a CRM like Jobber or reputation management software, I've got Nice Job down below. If you need a way to track your marketing and know how to be successful and know what's working and what's not, you can use CallRail. If you need a payroll provider, Gusto. All those resources are in the show notes below. And I've got a new partnership with Zapier. If you want to know more about that, ask me. I'll get some resources out there. But Zapier is a powerful way to integrate different softwares in your business, automate some things. I've created some new automations in my business recently using Zapier to help me out. I'll get that link in there in the show notes as well. But anyway, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the next episode of the Off the Ladder podcast.